Welcome to Fright Night.
Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end.
Please welcome Art the Clown.
We can defeat death. We can achieve every doctor's dream. We'll be famous.
The very first play I ever did was in the 5th grade. It was Hans Brinker and the Silver Skates. I started out on the stage, which was a good thing. When I came to New York, I got into a hit off-Broadway show almost immediately. It was tough. I struggled, to do plays for no money. And actually, sometimes I had to pay them to be in the off-Broadway play. And so I started on the stage. And then I did the national tour of the Great White Hope, and then did films, and until 1979 when I did what movie? Many of the really zealots in Friday the 13th zealots, I asked them, what age did you see the film? And they were real young. And they were forbidden to see the film. Many were as young as 8 or 9 years old. They saw it in their friend's basement on the VCR or whatever, and then others snuck into the theater. They were forbidden to go see that film. But we never imagined it would be what it became. And one of the many things that I did to make money part-time was clean apartments. And one of the apartments I was cleaning on a regular basis was a film producer named Saul Swimmer. And he knew I was an actor, and to make a long story short, he knew Sean Cunningham, and that was the introduction, and I had to audition, of course. He said, okay, come on up to Camp Crystal Lake. They were already in production. And so I had to read with Kevin Bacon and Adrian King and Harry Crosby and Janine Taylor. They had already gotten their parts. And so I had auditioned with them. They were filming up at Camp Crystal Lake, Blairstown, New Jersey. And then I finished, and Harry Crosby said, oh, I'm unduly impressed. But Sean Cunningham didn't say a word. So I didn't know if I got the part. We walked slowly up the hill for my bus back to New York, and he said, okay, you got the part. Well, learn the part. We're going to be shooting 2 days next week. And so it was just, at the time, it was just a job. I didn't know, none of us knew. It's a job. Was anybody going to see this movie? Who knows? Maybe it'll never get a release into the theatrical theaters. We didn't know.
Pay you for this?
Hey, nice bite.
You've been smoking, boy.
Smoking? Don't smoke. Causes cancer.
You know what I mean. Would you just get off a spaceship or something? Colombian gold, man. Grass, hash, the weed. Dig it?
Hey, what's he talking about?
Hey, don't get smart.
Me? I'm as dumb as they come.
Hey.
He was the coolest actor I've ever worked with. It was going pretty good. And Sean and Steve Miner said, okay, Ron, a little over the top. Be a little more real and pick up the pace. I can imagine what that was like because I felt I was a little over the top anyway in the final version. So I'm doing this scene with Kevin. Out of nowhere, I didn't know he was going to do this. He walks over to my motorcycle. He's improvising, right? I followed him. It's like, hey, where are you going, dude? I followed him over there, and that added a little a live moment to the film. My roommate was Harry Crosby, but he was never there. I think I was just assigned to his cabin. And we slept in those cabins, those actual cabins that, were in the film. I didn't get to know anybody very well, and I didn't keep in touch with anybody. And it wasn't until, 20 years later that I even knew the conventions were happening. I was working on a film called Satan's Playground. And one of the stars, she said, "Are you going to the convention this weekend, the Chiller Convention in Parsippany, New Jersey?" I said, what's this Chiller Convention? I never heard of that. It had been going on, so I went. And I had some of my students helping me out, setting up the table, and there was this long line in front of my table. And I said, "What are you people doing here? What do you want?" And they said, "We're waiting for you." I had no idea. It's fun. I signed all kinds of things, posted, oh my gosh, the beautiful posters that some of the fans make from Japan, from Germany, and everyone signed them, the original cast signed them, and some of them are quite stunning, and they're framed or whatever. And they're very meticulous. Please make sure you write this way and be careful. Don't make it, it's very precious. These posters that I sign are very precious to the fans. And they're beautiful. They've almost become works of art, some of the posters from different countries. And some I've never seen before. Some were very original, Sweden and Denmark. And and then the strangest thing I had to sign was somebody had a big bottle of dirty water. And it was water from Camp Crystal Lake, and I had to sign the bottle. I was a movie addict. My mother had divorced my father, and I guess she just took me to everything at the local theater in Windsor, Connecticut, the Plaza Theater. So I think many of us got into acting because of films. What happened to the films of Frankenstein and Dracula? Why didn't they have this following? I mean, I'm really not a horror film fan. I like certain ones. The ones that I thought were the best were The Exorcist. After I saw that, I walked the entire 4 miles of Manhattan to get it out of my head. But for some reason and somehow, the fans are not into those films. They're more into Halloween and Friday the 13th, The Nightmare on Elm Street. They discovered it. Friday the 13th had the worst reviews of any film that year. So it was you guys, word of mouth, that brought it to the #1 moneymaker of 1980. Because the last 3 minutes of the film, first time I saw it, I jumped out of my seat. To me, that's what made the film. Alice is in the boat, she's sleeping, we hear calm, peaceful music, and then this thing comes out of the water. That was the genius of Sean Cunningham. A couple of months ago, I was in a diner, my diner, the Westway Diner, across from where I live in New York City, on 43rd and 9th Avenue. And the manager, his wife was a big Friday the 13th fan, so he tells her, "Ron, Millkie's here." So she comes over, "Oh my God, Ron, it's so nice to meet you, and blah, 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 blah. Can I take pictures?" I said, "Sure." So her husband took about 7 or 8 pictures of us together. And as I'm leaving, she says, "Oh, by the way, what part did you play?" The point being, it didn't matter. I was in Friday the 13th. It's funny. I mean, if I had people say, "Oh, wait a minute. Hey, do you know what this guy was in?" That's exactly as they said. "You know what this guy was in?"